Hi, thanks for tuning in the Morning Tea Show. Today's breaking news is a tragedy that happened in the castle of Elsinore.
Now, this news is shocking and it's blowing up the minds of Denmark and all over the world. Now, let's get in depth at what happened in the castle of Elsinore.
Based on the information that we have gotten so far, based on the facts, it all started with the sudden death of King Hamlet and things started to get crazy.
Okay, so King Hamlet was suddenly murdered in his orchard while he was taking his afternoon nap, when suddenly he was poisoned in the air and no one knows who did it, but we will spill the tea later.
After King Hamlet's tragic death, his brother Claudius took the throne and Gertrude remarried with Claudius.
While all of this was happening in Denmark, Prince Hamlet was away at Wittenberg in France, when all of a sudden he got the news that his father had passed. So then he came back to Denmark to mourn his father's death.
When Hamlet got there, he noticed that his uncle Claudius was crowned king and was so surprised on how fast his mother had moved on. On getting remarried so quickly, he became furious because he thought that his mother loved his father and his mother changed his thought on women.
Now, let's fast forward a little bit to when things really start to get a little suspicious and crazy. So, after all of this, some of the guards and his true friend Horatio told Hamlet that there had been a ghost who looked very similar to his father, and told him that if he were there, that maybe the ghost would talk to him because he would not speak to them.
After Hamlet has gone to see the ghost that looks similar to his father, the ghost tells him that he is his father and how the murder happened and how he was poisoned by his uncle Claudius. And after Hamlet heard about this tragic news, he becomes furious and his father tells him to avenge his death, but his father tells him to not hurt his mother.
Hamlet is planning on how to avenge his father's death, and the way he's going to do it is by acting mad towards everyone, and the only people who know about it is Horatio and Bernardo. The reason why Hamlet is going to act mad is so that he can get the attention of his uncle Claudius, so that he can keep him close and try to prove that he murdered his father, and to get information off of him.
People start to suspect when Hamlet started to act different towards his partner Ophelia. This happened when Hamlet encountered Ophelia but was acting strangely towards her, and Ophelia tells her dad Polonius about what happened with her and Hamlet's encounter. Polonius decides to tell the king and queen and brings proof.
Another way that Hamlet tries to prove that King Claudius murdered his father is by putting on a play at the castle and having everyone attend. And while the play is going on, Hamlet is going to have Horatio looking at him the whole time to see if he reacts a certain way towards the play. Claudius does end up reacting to the play, and it shocks him so much to the point where he has to leave and get some air, and then suspects that Hamlet knows something.
Hamlet then finds Claudius in the confessional, wanting to kill him with a dagger, but he was confessing, and when you confess, we all know you go to heaven. So he didn't want to kill him while he was talking to God, so he didn't. But little did Hamlet know is that he didn't mean it, but his father didn't get to confess.
While Hamlet is arguing with his mother Gertrude about why she moved on so fast and how could she have gone with Claudius, then he hears a sound from behind the curtain and immediately reacts by stabbing them, thinking it was Claudius. Turns out the person who he killed was Polonius. And then his mother is shocked by it. Then Hamlet starts to go off on her again to find that his father shows up to calm him down. And Hamlet decides to confess to his mother so that she can join him and leave Claudius.
Gertrude tells Claudius about how Hamlet kills Polonius, and Claudius tells Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to send Hamlet away.
Hamlet then confesses to Claudius and telling him that Polonius's body is under the stairs. King Claudius is mad at all of this, so then he decides to send Hamlet away to England and to have him killed there, but without anyone knowing.
This affected Ophelia by acting mad because of his father's death, and Claudius noticed that Laertes comes in furious about his father's death and can't believe he didn't do anything about it. The queen and the king become worried over Ophelia because she has gone mad.
Now, don't think that things are going to get any happier. After Ophelia finds out about her father's death, she decides to go to the brook, and when she's hanging from a branch, she falls, and then she can't handle it, so she drowns and ends up dying, unfortunately. Now, don't forget that Hamlet doesn't know about this yet.
During Ophelia's funeral, Horatio and Hamlet show up, and Laertes and Hamlet start arguing about Laertes' father Polonius' death, and Hamlet starts to apologize like how he didn't mean to do it.
The next death that is mysterious is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's, when they took a trip and never came back. and then they later found out that they were executed and no one knows why. The way that Laertes and Hamlet decide to solve their problem is by fencing each other, and how everyone in the castle is invited to see their battle.
During the fight, King Gertrude dies, and so does Claudius and Laertes by being poisoned, and so does Hamlet, and tells Horatio that Fortinbras is the person who gets to take over the throne.
Horatio is the only person who comes out alive in all of this tragedy, and he is also going to live and to tell about his whole story. And now that we've told you what we know, we now have on the line our special guest, which is the one and only Horatio, to tell us the real tea at what happened at the Castle of Elsinore. Hello, Horatio. Welcome to the Morning Tea Show. We are so honored to you accepting to talk to us about what really happened in Denmark. What would you like to say or clear up about all of this?
Hello. Good morning. Thank you for having me on the Morning Tea Show. The first thing that I would like to clear up is that King Claudius is the person who murdered King Hamlet and the person who is responsible for Queen Gertrude's death.
Wow!
Hamlet was a very dear friend of mine, and the only reason he was acting mad was so that he could get close to Claudius, so that he could prove that he was responsible for his father's death. He only wanted justice. King Claudius was the person who told Laertes to poison the foil, so that's how Prince Hamlet dies, and Hamlet took his foil and then cut him, so that's how Laertes dies.
This is so much information that is shocking and so terrible, but can you explain how it felt during this time?
I cannot explain how much tragedy and pain that happened at the castle of Elsinore.
I'm sorry to hear that, Horatio. Hope everything gets better and that you feel better.
This is all I have to say for now. Once again, thank you for having me and a good day to you. Bye.
Thank you for the information you have given us today in today's Morning Tea Show. And now words from the physiologists.
Hello, good evening. My name is Dr. Himes. I'm so glad that you all invited me to speak about this tragedy on air. I would really like to say what I think about it and what it causes a person to feel and think. Thanks for agreeing, Dr. Himes. Now, I would like to ask you, what do you think causes such of a tragedy like this one? Well, you see, when people have so much anger and hate for someone, it causes the amygdala in the brain to send signals to the cortex to make you think, should I, and etc. It seems to me that Prince Hamlet was the most affected by this, because he was the only one who seemed to have the most hate. Didn't know that, Dr. Himes. Thanks for the new information. Now, one last thing that we would want to know is, what is your opinion on this tragedy? Do you think that if they reached out for help, it would have ended differently? Welcome. You know what they say, you learn something new every day. And now to answer your question, I think that this is a very bad thing that happened to many people, especially the ones who lost their lives in this tragedy. It's such a bad thing to go through, and I wouldn't want this to happen to anyone. Yes, I do think that if they would have reached for professional help, this tragedy wouldn't have happened, and they would have been better trying to fix their problems the right way. Now, it's been a pleasure talking to you and for having me on the show, but I've got to go now. I have a very busy schedule today. Goodbye.
Thank you for being on our show. We really loved having you here.
Well, folks, this concludes our radio show for this morning, and we hope we gave you the best information and the real tea for this tragic event. The following song is a special dedication for the survivors and the lives that were lost at the Castle of Elsinore. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I lie awake, looking back. God knows this life goes fast. Each day harder than the last. Breaking down in the dark. I don't know how I fell this far from heaven. Can't put the pieces back together. So you lie there and dream. Here's to the lonely, to the broken hearted. I want you to know I feel your pain. Here's to the hopeless, the almost forgotten, to those who got lost along the way. I see you, I see you, I see you. empty streets and no one sees, but we all just try to make believe that it's all better than it seems. Black and white, we color in, we see the world the way we wanna see it. You either take it or you leave it. Is it all just a dream? Here's to the lonely, to the broken hearted. I want you to know I feel your pain. Here's to the hopeless, the almost forgotten, to those who got lost along the way. I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you. When you're alone and you can't go back home, at the end of the day, I'll remember your face. Here's to the lonely, to the broken hearted. I want you to know I feel your pain. Oh, here's to the hopeless, the almost forgotten, to those who got lost along the way. I see you, I see